have Ilan Greenfield with us. And Ilan, thank you for coming all the way from Israel to be with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you.
You wrote a book. You're a publisher.
That's correct. I'm a publisher. I own a company called Geffen Publishing, and we've been publishing for 36 years now. Books on Israel, on Judaism, on the Jewish people, and on the Holy Land.
Who's that man that we see in Israel that has this huge library on
Izzy
Jewish?
Liebler.
Do you know him?
Yes, Izzy Liebler is a very good friend, and actually I just told Earl that just a couple of months ago we published a book about his activity helping to save Soviet Jews with the Australian Jewish community, getting them out of Soviet Union into Israel.
Oh, how wonderful.
He was very instrumental in that whole operation.
You know, I always liked him. And we've gone to his home and we've seen his library, which is in the kitchen and everywhere. And then he has this library upstairs that's under certain kind of weather, degrees.
Yeah, so many books they had to take and add additional support to hold the floors up.
Right.
Incredible.
He's one of those people who built a house around his library,
yes,
and not a library in the house.
Right, that's what he did.
He's the man of the book from the people of the book.
He is.
Yes.
And he's just awesome. You tell him you met me here, and I want him to come sometime.
I will convey the message, and I will let him know next week.
And maybe with his new book or something.
Okay.
That would be great. I want to see this one book that you wrote on the Holocaust.
Okay, I'll correct. I did not write it, but I published it.
You published it.
The book is as you can see, it's a very substantial book. It's called And Every Single One Was Someone. And the unique part of this book is that when you look in it, it has only one word written in it 3 million times.
3 million or six?
Sorry, one word, a three-letter word, 6 million times. The word Jew. And as you continue changing the pages, turning the pages, it's the same word, the same three-letter word, Jew, 6 million times. And this book, in my mind, is a very unique, I would say, educational tool to try and convey the message of what people did on earth to other people, what they did to Jews. I think it's very important for us to comprehend the enormity of what happened during World War II, the hatred, and how one part of the human race went and murdered 6 million Jews for no other reason by them being Jews.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you had great men and women in that group of people that was just lost.
Right. And my mother was one of those survivors.
She was?
My mother came from Czechoslovakia and from a small town called Kolin. She led a very normal Jewish life. And when the Germans came in, they took them to a concentration camp called Theresienstadt, which was a model camp to show how good life, how the Germans are treating the Jews nicely. From there, they were passed on to Auschwitz, and she had a number inscribed on her hand.
Yes.
And from there, towards the end of the war, when the Germans needed more manpower, they took the healthier ones out to Germany to do labor. And she was sent to Hamburg. And she worked in Hamburg. And actually, she wrote in her book, Fragments of Memory, she wrote a short story on Christmas in Hamburg of 1944. And from there, she went on the death march to Bergen-Belsen, and she was liberated from Bergen-Belsen on April 15th, 1945.
Now, liberated means she got her freedom, total freedom.
The British Army came and freed her. She was taken, she went out to England, and then 7 years later, in 1952, she immigrated to Israel.
I'll tell you what, let me see this book a minute. When you hold a book like this, has Jew 6 million times, this book represents how many people died in the Holocaust. How many people? Every one of those Jew right there on that page is a person. 6 million people died. This whole book is full of that. And at the very end, it has like things that talk about this, 6 million, and it shows 6 million. Say the number to anyone. And it's the Holocaust. 6 million Jews were killed by the Nazis and their their partners, their helpers. And it goes on and on. The whole page talks about what happened, but what a treasure this is. And every single one was someone. So this is a treasure that you can take and have in your home. You can. It's a big book. And you could take and have in your home and sit on your table, on your coffee table. And then people would say, what is that? And you say, the story of Holocaust, what happened. And you can tell them the stories of the different people whose lives were just disrupted and changed.
Dorothy, that same book sits on my coffee table in my living room in my home, right there in the middle of it. And most days I go through and I'll open a page. But you know, just because it's got Jew, that Jew represents a name, a family, a child. But it was more than just murdered. They were slaughtered. There were 42 death camps in Israel. 42 death camps all around Europe, right? Mostly in Poland and other places. But the thing about, in those people that went through those camps, what they went through, a barbarian could not even imagine what they went. I was there like recently.
If you watch that movie, what is it?
Schindler's List?
Schindler's List. Kind of gives you a thing.
Yeah.
They just shot you at random. They just put you in the ovens.
Yeah. Well, you and I are going to be there.
Yes,
in October. Going in probably the first part of November, we'll be there. But on my trip, I was just there. And I'm telling you, 18 years I've been reporting news from Israel. I never felt the deep down feeling of why the Holocaust was so bad until I was there in Auschwitz and Birkenau. And I saw how these people went through. 8,000 people a day would be put in ovens. And they would be baked into cremated, and they had so many ashes, tons of ashes, and they would take the ashes of these people like you and me, these godly people, and they would take and put them on the road. They had so many ashes they had to get rid of them and put them on the roads in order to fill potholes. It is absolutely mind-boggling to see what they did to human beings. Yeah. These are God's chosen children.
Yeah.
And every time I open that book, I don't see the word Jew on it. I see a person. I see a person that lived and breathed and had a life just like me. And they were taken and robbed of everything that they had, their dignity. When they were brought in, as you very well know, in those boxcars,
naked.
7 and 8 days on those cars, with standing up, not sitting down, having babies standing up, having to do natural things that come with living on that boxcar. Can you imagine the stench in it? Can you imagine the heat in it, the coldness in it? And they would take them and move them off of those trains, and they would put them and line them up and make those ladies and those men take and strip down naked. They would bring razor blades and cut all the hair off their head, tons of hair that they would take and sell to put in pillowcases. This is inhuman what they did. Experiment on people without having an anesthesiologist there. And to see how much pain a human person could go through before they would die. They would stand on the hill up there and sing Joy to the World at Christmas Eve while people were burning in those. And these Christians in America and around the world never even opened their mouth.
Well, it's almost like today with ISIS.
Yeah.
Who is opening their mouth about all the Christians being killed?
Absolutely.
They're
in Syria right now.
In Syria.
Millions.
Children being beheaded constantly. I don't hear anything.
No, because it's easier not to recognize. It's easier to sit back home with your favorite chair, reading your favorite book, and smoking your cigar or smoking your pipe or whatever it is, and say, somebody else will take care of it. We have an obligation, not only as Christians, but as human beings, to protect and guard against such barbaric acts as we've seen here. And it can happen again.
Horrible.
And it's going to happen again.
It will happen again. And the thing is, guess who they're coming for next?
That's right.
They are.
The Sunday people.
The Sunday people. That's right.
And when I see books like that, and I have people like Ilan, that comes to America, Dorothy, I was telling you earlier.
Yes.
He comes to America and says, Earl, I want to meet you. Who is this guy? I don't never see, so many people we get calls from. Who is he? I said to him, wait. She said, well, your good friend recommended you take time and visit with him. Well, he's in New York, flying in for a
Israel.
Jerusalem Post conference, and he calls me on the telephone and says, "Can I come and see you?" I said, "Look, I'm in the mountains of North Carolina. I'm a long ways from New York right now." He said, "That's all right. I'll fly to Charlotte, North Carolina." And he said, "And I'll rent a car, and I'll drive up to your house," which is a long drive from Charlotte, an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. And he said, "I just want to talk with you." And he brought this book. He said, "I want to make a presentation of this book to you." I looked at it and I opened it up. I said, "But there are no names in here. It just says Jew." He said, "Yes." He said, "But think about it." And I thought a second, and it was almost like a vision had come to me. These are human beings. Each one of these names. If I were to flip through every page one time a day, it would take me over a year and a half just to go through the pages, not counting the number of people in there.
6 million.
Stop and think of a football game or a basketball game, and you look into the stadium and you see 80,000 people. You say, "My word, it's an incredible amount of people. You can't even see them. There's so many of them. You can't identify." But think, it would take hundreds, thousands of those stadiums to reach 6 million.
Yes.
8,000 people a day in 42 camps were being slaughtered and experimented on. And these, again, are God's chosen people. The God says, "The apple of my eye." You touch it, reach in there, touch your eye, and I'll grant you one thing. You'll pull your finger back real quick.
You will.
It's the most sensitive thing on your body. And God says, "You are touching my people now." And you wonder why we're going through what we're going through today? I don't wonder, because I know we have taken and walked away from Israel and given total support to her.
Yeah. Well, I want to tell you, this will be a constant reminder on your table. If you would get this, it's a $100 love gift. Very expensive to do. Wow. It's a huge, huge book, very expensive. It's got the tallit on the outside. But if you would take this wonderful book and put it on your table every day, you lift these people up, the Jewish people. God says, "I'll bless those that bless Israel." Yeah. Don't you think it would bless him if you had something like this on your table and every day you just open it up? Yeah. You're really not reading this part here, but, "Oh, Father, take care of your people. Bless them, guard them, and protect them. Let their enemies be at peace with them." Just pray over them. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Right. And just lay your hands on this. Yes. Don't you think that'll mean something to God? That you care? I recommend that you go and you get one of these books. $100 love gift. $100 love gift. And you can have it sitting on your table. Constant reminder that they came for them, but one day they will come for you. Yeah. They will. Already we've got people in America who hate Americans. Iran says death to the infidel, death to Israel, death to the infidel, America. I'm telling you something. Have this on your table and always remember, never forget what happened. Yeah. Your book that your mother wrote, can we make that available to the people?
Yes, we. I'd just like to add one more sentence about the book. I think the importance is that we must never let this happen again.
Yes.
And the only way we can prevent things like this of happening and reoccurring is by remembering what happened and remembering that it's human beings who did this. This is not someone that we couldn't have controlled. This is human beings just like you and I who have not acted as God would have loved them to act. And they went out and they murdered people just because they were Jews. And
Isn't
I think
that awful?
It is absolutely awful, and I think it is a very important reminder for us on a daily basis. It's not a book you have to read every day. It's a book that when you see it, it's a reminder to behave better. It's a reminder to do better deeds. It's a reminder to be kinder to other people and not to ever let this happen again, never ever again to any people around the world. No matter their religion, no matter their race, and no matter what country they're in.
Dorothy, I guess every week I get books from people. You know, I don't read them all, unfortunately.
No,
I can't.
You can't.
That is the only book that you'll see on my coffee table of all the books in my repository at home. But that one right there will always remain there because I want to always be reminded of just what you said. It can happen again if I'm silent.
That's it. We must be vocal. we must say never again. And again, like I'm telling you, what are you doing about ISIS? Are you praying that God would stop them, that God would cause his angels to fight them as he did in this book?
Right.
Nobody's praying. I mean, people are praying, but they need to really pray. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever.
But Dorothy,
he could do that.
Even in our own community of Christians, stop and look what's happening in the United Presbyterian Church. Did you see yesterday what happened?
What'd they do yesterday?
They had a convention, and they invited the Muslims come in, and they were praying in the name of Allah. Allah support them, and they were incorporating all of these religions that we don't even know what it's all about. I mean, they are all against Israel, but they were. This is a United Presbyterian Church. Look at the Episcopalian leaders, many of them. Look at the Methodists, many of them. These many leaders, fortunately, thank God that the congregations aren't following what the leaders are saying, because we really have problems.
Yeah.
But the support is coming from those people in the evangelical community.
Now, you know my background was Mennonite.
Yes.
And I just recently was home, and Mother told me that the church, some of the Mennonite churches are starting to leave the organization because of this very thing.
Yeah.
They've gone in with Chrislam, and they said there's no way we can do that. And the congregations voted out, and they're leaving the Mennonite organization.
But BDS, that's another prime example of anti-Semitism. To boycott products that come from Judea and Samaria. I mean, let's face it, for Christians to stand against the state of Israel in any way whatsoever. I'm not a citizen there, I don't pay taxes there, but I'll tell you one thing, I would stand beside these people day in and day out.
I would too.
And am I going to criticize them? No. I'm going to take and stand with them, because I have seen over and over again how God has raised these people up when other nations have gone under. And so having a book like that right there, I can't imagine a book like that for $100. To be quite frank with you, if you had not presented me one and you said give me I would have given you $100 real quick just to have that book. I don't sell books, and I'm getting into books. So, but I'll tell you, I cannot believe that a Christian would have that in their living room and not feel it every day, that we need to go to our knees and prostrate ourselves before our God and say, forgive us for what we've done to your people.
For our silence.
Right.
Okay, we're going to go to BJ, then we're going to come back with, we're going to keep you up here, we're going to bring Renee up here too.
Oh,
and
good.
put you over here with me, and we're going to talk about some things that are going on, but I still want to talk about your mother's book.
Thank you.
Back in a minute. We were talking about this book, and we have decided to do something very special. Not only will we give you this book for a $100 love gift, because I want you to have this on your home. You have got to have it. It's a constant reminder, but I won't lose your place. I just want to hold it up a minute. This is called Fragments of Memory, and this is our guest, Ilan, your mother.
Right.
She was in the Holocaust. She's a Holocaust survivor. And so I've decided that we're going to throw a free one of these in with every book.
Wow.
Because when you sit and read her story of what this young woman went through in her life, that's just one of 6 million. 6 million people. Can you imagine? Okay, here you go. You want to read something to me?
What I wanted to do is I wanted to say something very short about what my mother wrote. My mother came out of the Holocaust. She was under 20 years old. She went through a few of the camps. She started in Theresienstadt in Czechoslovakia. From there, she was sent to Auschwitz. They put a number on her arm. And from there, towards the end of the war, she was sent to Hamburg, as I said before, for labor. When she got out, people didn't want her to speak because they were afraid to hear. You know, people at that point in the 1950s did not want to hear about the Holocaust. It was too horrible for them. And she married an American who came from the United States to Palestine in 1947. And he helped her a bit get out of this silence. And she started speaking at a very young age. And thanks to him, she started writing some stories. And what she did, she wrote short stories of a young girl before the Holocaust, during the Holocaust, and after the Holocaust. Because she wanted to try to convey to the youngsters of this generation what it felt being a youngster during that period under that time. And I just want to say something, that growing up in that home with a mother who's a Holocaust survivor, we learned to appreciate what food was, what bread was.
And life.
And life. And today, you know, we live in a very affluent world We all throw out so many things. We waste them, and we don't
Yes.
really appreciate what they are. And my mother always said that bread was something very important. And when we published her book, Fragments of Memory, the editor went over and over again on the story called Bread. And my mother always rejected it. And she said, he doesn't understand what I'm writing. And I said, but Ima, he just changed this and that. She says, no, he doesn't understand the meaning of bread. He just writes bread. And I said, what's the difference? She said, bread is bread. It's not just bread. And it's very difficult for us to comprehend. So I want to say something that at some point, she has a story called Bread. And she said that at some point, bread was something that she just was dreaming about, because one piece of bread made her go one more day alive. And it was so crucial. And she says, when you're hungry, that's all you dream about. All you want is just that one small piece of bread, because it's survival. And at the end of the story, she put something that I'll have to read it because I don't know if I can convey it another way. And she says, how can I explain this to my children while bread is being thrown in the garbage, fed to animals, while everybody tries to eat less bread to keep slim? I used to have a dream. When this ordeal is over, and if I survive it, I want to have 10 loaves of bread with me at all times. And, sorry.
It's okay.
Touching story.
And I think that the
okay.
meaning of bread to people in those periods was so crucial.
Yeah.
And I'll try to end with a funny story. My wife always tells me I should stop eating bread because you grow fat and you grow a belly. And I tell her, it's not the bread, it's bread. And I think till today, after 30 some years of marriage, I don't think she still understands why I have to sit down and just take a loaf of bread and just slice it and eat it and enjoy every minute of it. Yes. Because bread is something that we have to appreciate. God gave us bread. We say the blessing over bread. And I think we really have to understand how fortunate we are in this world. And going back to the other book, how we cannot let this ever happen again.
Never.
No person, no man, no woman, no child should ever suffer of hunger just because other people do not like what he or she does.